After Digimon Adventure Try never had a theatrical release in Australia, and then Kazuna's theatrical release was essentially non-existent in Australia due to COVID, I was finally able to watch a Digimon movie in the cinema along with fellow Digituber, the Digimon Professor, when we had the Digimon Adventure 02, the beginning, release in cinemas. In this video, I'm only going to be mentioning the plot as far as what we knew in promotional material prior to the movie's release, such as the fact that it follows the same story as every other adventure movie just about. A new chosen child who has been there the entire time has appeared, and it's likely that either their Digimon partner or the human themselves is actually evil. However, don't let my cynicism on every Digimon Adventure related movie being the same confuse you. I actually, surprisingly, really enjoyed this movie. I saw the English dub and actually really enjoyed it. It was nice to hear the voices of the returning cast. However, if anything, the dub was actually too faithful and ended up changing some terminology that has become dub staples, such as reverting Heightened View Terrace, which was forever known as Heightened View Terrace in the English dub, to the original name of Hikarigaoka, which is a real place in Japan. We also have Yoli's catchphrase being changed from perfecto to being bingo. Now, this was something that I was a little bit surprised by, especially in the case of Heightened View Terrace no longer being called Heightened View Terrace. Now, yes, it's referring to an actual real place, Hikarigaoka, but in the dub it's always been known as Heightened View Terrace. So, while fans who know of both versions of Digimon, being the Japanese release as well as the English dub, will be able to use either or fairly interchangeably, I'm worried that and I'm sure this is only a very small subset of people that only know of Heightened View Terrace, and I'm wondering how they feel going into this movie and having Heightened View Terrace being mentioned at some point, and we did see in trailers that there is a flashback of some description that shows Heightened View Terrace, and the fact that it's no longer actually called Heightened View Terrace in the English dub. Well, I'm sure that this makes a lot of purists of releases happy because they've changed it back to being less of a change from the original or a departure from that original release. I am worried about anybody who potentially exists that saw the movie and is like, where is Hikarigaoka? What does that mean? But of course, if they use the word Heightened View Terrace, anyone who is basically like a fan of Digimon from when they were children but maybe hasn't kept up with everything, they'll know that that's what that means if they just use Heightened View Terrace. So that was something that I was actually really surprised about that they changed, and otherwise I didn't have any gripes with the dub. It was probably too faithful, which is probably a take that not a lot of people will have. People tend to like when dubs don't change anything, when they're just basically translations rather than localizations. However, in this case, I would have kind of liked if some things were kept from the original English release of 02, that being the terminology, and also I would have kind of liked if we got the English soundtrack, because the dub actually kept all of the music from the Japanese version. Now, this is definitely an unpopular opinion, because the main thing that people complain about when they complain about the English dub of Digimon is they complain about the soundtrack changes. Now, in terms of nostalgia, I would have preferred if they kept in some, or at least like remixes of or similar sounds to the original. I would have really liked that, but of course, they kept the Japanese soundtrack, which is also fine. I do like the Japanese soundtrack, I just have less nostalgia for it. But that's just me, and I'm very aware that that is probably a very unpopular opinion, that I wish that there were more changes in the English dub. From what I can tell, I haven't seen the Japanese version yet, but from what I can tell, it feels like it's fairly faithful. There are a lot of things that seem to be just translations, again, Hikarigaoka and bingo being used, rather than what was used in the original English version of 02. But yeah, again, that's just me, but the dub was pretty cool, and the voices that were returning were great to hear again. And Armadillomon's voice was just Elmo. It didn't feel like Armadillomon from the original 02 in English, but other than that, I don't really have that many complaints about the English dub. I'm fairly happy with how they did it. So that's just like, I recommend the English dub if you like the English dub, especially if you grew up on the English dub, because returning voices, and obviously they do have to change some of them for the members of the cast who have sadly passed away between now and the original release of 02. So overall, I had such low expectations for this movie going into it that I'm actually still surprised that I enjoyed it as much as I did. However, I did feel that some of the characters, such as Cody, didn't have that many lines compared to all of the other cast. It was like, maybe I feel like Cody maybe had less than 10 lines the entire movie, and at some points I was like, oh yeah, Cody's here. I kept on forgetting that Cody existed as a character, because he was just kind of not, he was there, but he was kind of quiet, which it fits his character, but I was surprised about how little lines that he actually had through the movie. And the other kids did talk a lot more. I think Hikari also didn't talk that much, but Cody definitely had the least amount of lines out of the cast. So that was definitely a thing that was a little bit weird. My only main issue, and this is something that was revealed in promotional material prior to the film's release, so I will say it. It doesn't count as a spoiler because it was basically said when the movie was announced that Ukamon and Louis were going to be revealed to be these first chosen children. These are the first Digimon human partner pair. And that was revealed in the promotional material. And this is my main gripe with the movie, and probably my only gripe with the movie, if I'm being completely honest. And I knew that it would be my at least a gripe with the movie going into the movie itself. But it continued on to be my only gripe, as far as I can feel. That is my only gripe. So the fact is that we already know that there were original chosen children. This was revealed in the original Digimon Adventure, as well as, of course, Digimon Adventure Tri, where we meet two of them, Maki and Daigo, and we learn, and this is revealed in the Digimon Adventure novelization as well, that the original chosen children's Digimon ended up becoming the Holy Beasts, and Tri, again, confirmed that from that novelization, basically making it canon if Tri is accepted into canon. So the Holy Beast that we saw in Digimon Adventure and 02 with Zulongmon, that is meant to be one of the original Digimon chosen children's Digimon partners. So these kids would have probably, judging by ages, would have gone out in the early 90s or the late 80s or mid to late 80s, I guess, judging by the ages of Maki and Daigo probably being like 20s to 30s at the time of Digimon Adventure Tri, and their adventure taking place when they were typical Digimon chosen child ages of around 10 or 11. So the fact that, judging by the timing, if Ukamon and Louis met around the same time as the other kids, or just slightly prior to the kids in Digimon Adventure, then that kind of doesn't fit the timeline if we're having the original chosen. Considering that Louis was born in the kind of early 90s, that timing doesn't line up for allowing the adventures of the original chosen to take place like a few years before the chosen in Digimon Adventure. So that doesn't really line up super well with that happening. However, I can chalk it up to it being just Louis and Ukamon being wrong, or them being a separate case. And there is some explanation to why Louis and Ukamon are the first partners, but that kind of dwells on there being some spoilers, so I won't go into that territory too much. So basically, if they are the first children partnered with Digimon, that doesn't line up with the original chosen that we learn about being Maki and Daigo and their original group, with their Digimon becoming the Holy Beasts, because Louis is too young to be earlier than Maki and Daigo, him being roughly the same age as Daisuke, and I think a little bit younger. I think he was, from memory, the movie said he was born in, like, I can't remember if it was 1992 or 1993 or 1940, but he's around that age range. So probably too young to be before the original Chosen. So there is something, and I will do a spoiler video where I go into how I feel like that could kind of coincide and make them both, them being one of the first Chosen and Digimon partner combo, and then also still having the original Chosen. But again, I'll go over that in my spoiler video because it does cross over into that spoiler territory. And then, of course, we have just a non-spoiler version of why. I just think they're just wrong. I think Louis and Okamon are just maybe just misguided. But again, I'll go into why I think that they are wrong in my spoiler video. This is just my spoiler-free video. So overall, this movie is absolutely worth the watch. And I honestly hope that it gets a wider release rather than just being a limited cinema run, just so more people can see it. It feels a lot less like a shameful nostalgia grab or a beating of a dead Leomon like Digimon Adventure Tri and Kazuna were, at least in my opinion. I felt like they were too much like trying to get you to think about your nostalgia and love it just because of nostalgia, and same goes for the Digimon Adventure reboot. I felt like this was less of that sort of cheap nostalgia grab, but then again, I probably felt more nostalgia for this movie than I did for Digimon Adventure Tri or Kazuna, and maybe that's just me loving 02 so much, but yes, I definitely recommend watching it. I was very hesitant. I went in with the lowest of lowest expectations. There we are, got the word out eventually. I just didn't think it was going to be good, and then I guess maybe that's why I like it so much, is because my expectations were the flaw. I did not like Kazuna. I thought Tri was okay, but kind of got worse as it continued on, but I was actually surprised with how much I liked this movie. And yeah, I definitely recommend watching it if you haven't already. I hope that it gets a wider release, and I'm sure it will get a home release at some point, at the very least, like Kazuna did, but I hope that it's soon. I want people to watch this movie. It's really good. So overall, those are my spoiler-free reviews. I would say it's probably one of the best Digimon movies. It's definitely the best modern Digimon movie. Yeah, even more so than the parts of Tri that I did like. I think I like this more. So this is probably above Chapter 3 and Chapter 2 of Tri, which are, in my opinion, my favourite parts. So yeah, I definitely recommend it. It's good. I give it like a solid, I want to give it an 8 out of 10. Or maybe I'll give it a 9 out of 10, losing 1 point because the original Chosen timeline, I wish that they kind of, I wish a character would have said, what about the original? Though then again, I'm not sure if the 02 kids know about the original Chosen, because that was one revealed to the... Actually, no, Hikari and TK would have known because they're from the 1999 batch. Anyway, someone should have mentioned, hey, what about the original Chosen? But they didn't, and that was kind of a shame. And I guess those are my thoughts about the Digimon Adventure 02, the beginning movie. Let me know your thoughts, comments, questions, etc., in the comment section below. Like this video for the fact that my dog has decided to make his bed right behind me. Hopefully that doesn't come up on the audio too much. Subscribe if you haven't already, and if you have subscribed, tell your friends, tell your neighbours, tell your enemies, and of course, I'll see you in the next video. Bye!